Ladies and gentlemen, the following presentation is rated R. Rich and real content using strong, suggestive language. Please turn off your phone, close your Facebook, and open your mind. And now, the man who has turned thousands of agents into real estate rock stars. He is known as the Expired Guru, the Tony Robbins of real estate. He is the author of the Success Plus Plan, the Expired Plus, and his latest system, Core Influence. Please welcome your coach, Borino.
Welcome, everybody. This is the official welcome from your coach, Borino. What an intro, huh? A lot of fun. We had fun with that one. Your coach Borino with you on this live session, specifically for you who are my Listing University students, my subscribers, my students. It's really nice for you to join me. We had over 400 people who signed up for today's broadcast, and I'm really excited. We get tons to cover. This is nothing but content. Let me just make a few things clear. You saw the sign there. First of all, it is rated R. I speak how I speak. This is who I am. I don't have a shtick or a persona or some fancy scripts for you. But I speak from the heart. What I teach is what I know, what I've experienced, what I've tried, and sometimes failed. So I'm going to share not just my success, but my failures with you. But other than that, it's good old Borino for you. If you really want to walk away with some practical tips, and today it'll be loaded with strategies and tips you can put to use immediately. I will actually have a homework for you right after we finish. I encourage you to take maybe half an hour, maybe an hour, because the energy will be built up. You're going to be excited. So spend that time and spend that energy really working on what we're going to cover today to make sure that this is your year. You kick butt. You break through the barrier, whether it's 300, 400. The cool thing about the formula I'm going to give you and the process I'm going to walk you through is that the numbers change, but the process and the tools and the principles stay the same. So whether you're gunning for over 100,000, over 200,000, over 300,000, whatever the number is, the process and the formulas and strategies stay the same. Now, of course, ubiquitous disclaimer that my lawyers always make me say that. I make no guarantees or no promises this stuff will work for you. Everybody's different. The market, the personality, your approach is different. For legal aspects, check with your legal advisor, your broker, National Association of Realtors, or any source of information that provides that kind of advice. I can't do that. On the other hand, I'm here to inspire you, to teach you, to give you something practical you can walk away with to become a real estate rock star. I have some tools I want to share with you and some good stuff that we're going to go over. What's really at stake? Oh, by the way, before we get started, this is the phone number that you can dial during the broadcast. If you have any questions, you have comments, you want to chat with me, you dial 805-399-1200. The code for this conference is 143153. And then if you have specific questions, just hit *6 on your phone. That's going to put you in the queue, pops here, right here on my screen, and we can chat. Now, this is not a clinic. And let me explain the difference real quick. The clinic we're going to do next week. It is scheduled. You're going to get an email about it, an invitation. In the Expired Clinic, we're going to address specific problems or issues you're dealing with right now working expired listings. Since I'm being called the Expired Guru, I will help you. So if you have any specific role-play questions, dialogue questions, marketing questions, or follow-up questions, please hold off and let's talk about that during our clinic. Today, I want to focus on how to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Break through the barriers and obstacles that get in the way to everybody, including me, and get you on track. Okay? So that's the plan. I got my notes ready, and we'll get started. Cool. Okay. So now, why did I pick the number 300? What is so magical about the 300,000? Well, do the math with me. Okay? So let's set 300,000 as our goal. You've done maybe the exercise with me where we go over the ideal lifestyle. And many of you need a certain income, obviously, to not just pay the bills, but enjoy life, enjoy this business, enjoy the good things you want in life, whether it's a nice new car, a nice new home, a vacation, pay off all the debt, put your kids through a good school, whatever it is for you. Everybody has different goals, and whatever it is and inspires you is fine. But it's going to cost something. This is the means to get you there. It's not the end, obviously, but it's the means. It's the vehicle. It's the car that will transport you to that. So why 300? Well, let's do the numbers. Let's say 300,000 in the next 12 months. You're going to pay Uncle Sam about 90,000 out of that. Okay? And it's going to cost you what? And I'm estimating this, of course, your numbers will be different, but let's just say $40,000 in taxes. Somewhere there, okay? So that's $130,000 right off the bat. And what are you left with? $170,000, right? Is my math correct? I'm not exactly a genius. My 10-year-old son Philip is better in math. But you're going to be left with $170,000, right? Okay? So about half will be gone before you see a penny of your hard work and your efforts. $170,000. Now, if you follow what I teach you, and if you work hard, and if you're diligent, and if you use the systems, there's a good chance you may turn rich. You may make money and be rich. But here's the problem with real estate. It is an active income. What do I mean by that? The day you stop working is the day the cash stops. That's it. You don't have any assets, you don't have anything to sell, you definitely don't have any passive income. So let me show you a simple, and now be careful, because a lot of stuff I'm going to share with you today, your mind, that little voice in your head will say, oh, I've heard this before, or it's too simple, or this is not going to work in my area, I am different. All these little snippets that just play back and forth in your head over and over, and we all have that. A little later I'll actually show you a tool you can use, an actual tool, to kind of shut up that voice for a while. That's what I do, and I'll show you what I do. But going back to that, you're going to hear this. Be careful. It is exactly these kind of thoughts that may lead you to that rut or down the path that does not lead to the 300,000. So just acknowledge it. It will never shut up. You know, Mike Ferry 20 years ago came up with a great name for it, the drunken monkey. And I really like that, because it is sometimes like this chatty patty going on and on and on in your head. We all have it. So now, even if it says something, just evaluate and say, you know what, for a moment, let me just suspend this disbelief or these thoughts and focus and really get inspired. What's possible? How far you can take it? See, I do these broadcasts and I do this coaching because I honestly believe that 300,000 is within your reach, that you can do it. Yes, it will require work and some steps that we're going to go over, but it's doable. So let me show you, going back to our discussion, the difference between active income, which is what you have now, and creating real wealth. Real wealth is not in being a real estate agent. That will make you cash rich. But there is another way. So watch. We're going to spend about $90,000 on taxes. $40,000 will go to business expenses, some more, some less, but let's just use this as an example. Now, what if you lived of the $100,000 out of that? Can you live on $100,000? That's about $8,000 a month. Is that doable? $8K per month. I think so. It's possible, right? So now, what about the $70,000? Imagine you took the $70,000 that's left and invested in real estate. It's going to be a flip. It's going to be an income property, rental, apartment, units, anything. Can you invest with $70,000? Especially if you get a little creative, use part of your commission as part of a down payment. It's totally doable. You can buy property with $70,000 cash, totally. So now, you live on about $8,000 a month. Not a horrible lifestyle. I mean, some of us it would be a huge pay cut, but it's doable. Now, if you invest and buy only one property, where would you be 5 years from now? Owning 5 properties. Where would you be 10 years from now? Owning 10 properties, just one a year. Just one a year. That's a pretty no-brainer for most of you. You have access to the best deals. You know which areas are worth investing. You know what a deal would look like, how to structure the financing. You know everything, what it would cost to repair it. You have all the insights already. You are on the front lines. You're in the best position. And especially because you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. If you believe in real estate, then you should own some. 10 years from now, where would you be? Is it possible to have 10 good properties that bring positive income to say, you know what? If I want to work, I can, but I don't have to. Now you're turning active income into passive income. Will these properties be worth more? Probably most of them. Can you retire on 10 properties if you do it right? Yeah, it's doable. I know people who've done that. Or you can just work and enjoy both. Can you leave a legacy to your family, to your children, grandchildren? Can you have more peace of mind knowing that you have something to fall back on? If things get tight, you sell a couple of them for profit. That's where the real wealth is. So that's why I picked the 300,000, because this would take let's just do simple math. Let's say you're in an area, just because my math is not great, and you sell $500,000 property, okay? And after a broker split, you end up with $10,000 per transaction. Your numbers, very different obviously, but for the sake of illustration, that would require 30 transactions. Notice how it's all coming together now. So to make $300,000, I need to close 30 transactions. I'm going to end up with $170,000 in cash, $100,000 to live off, $70,000 to invest. That's why I picked this number. And now I'm going to show you how this is much closer than you think. It will require some stuff to know, to believe, and to do. But after that, it's just a matter of mapping and how to get there. Fair enough? That's all we're going to spend next about hour and a half on. This is the master plan. Okay? Cool. Everybody good? Let me just check online. Everybody is good here. Excellent. All right. So now how do we get there? Let me show you how to get there. I have this excellent artistic skills. Watch. Let me just wipe this first. Is this making sense so far? Pretty straightforward, right? Pretty straightforward. Any one of you can technically do this. Anybody can do this. Now, how do we get there? All right, let me just wipe this real quick. And let's build a vehicle to get us to that 300,000. And when I mean vehicle, I literally am going to use a car. We're going to build a car, whether you're a Lexus person or a Mercedes or a BMW, whatever your choice is. So let's start there. So imagine this is our car. All right. How awesome is that? And it has 4 wheels. Okay. This is the front. And there are some parts we're going to talk about. So to get there, we'll require this vehicle. Here's where we start. We start with the fuel. So imagine this is the tank. We're going to put a fuel in there. The fuel is your super why. That is the fuel. And I can tell you from being in this business for over 20 years, it is the lack of fuel that causes most failures. Most agents don't quit because they make too much money. I have yet to get a student who says, Borino, I have a problem. I'm quitting real estate. I'm making way too much money. Don't know what to do with it. That just doesn't happen. What really happens is not enough why. There's not enough fuel in the tank. It's just like going on a trip. Let's say from here, Washington, D.C. to Florida. Spring vacation, spring break. You want to take a little road trip. It's going to require certain gallons of gas to get you there. If you don't have it, you're going to run out. And that's what happens to people. They get beat up by this business. They get stressed out. They get confused and overwhelmed. And at the end, they quit. And the reason they quit is because they don't have why. It all starts with the right mindset. And I know I'm going to go Tony Robbins on your ass here, but that really is what you need to put in that tank. That's really where it starts, a big, powerful why. There are 2 ways you can do this. You can do it the hard way, the way I did it. You know my story, right? I started in real estate, very inspired, gung-ho. Next thing you know, I'm living in a car. I hit the ground so hard, and the failure was so miserable, and it felt so painful to acknowledge how deep I have sunk, or I had, that there was no way but up, bounce up. I don't recommend setting your life in a way that your circumstances are so painful that you just don't have a choice. Now, some of you know what I'm talking about. For some of you, the life right now is so stressful and you really don't know where your next paycheck is going to come from and you struggle so much. The reason we set ourselves up for this is because when there's enough pain, it's going to drive us. But that's the hard way to do it. It's also a painful way to do it. It works. But the easier way is set up a why that inspires you so much. Set up something that pulls you so much you can't wait to get out of bed at 5 in the morning to get going. I assure you, every single one of you watching this, every single one of you, everybody has something that inspires you beyond belief. Maybe it's something tangible, a nice Rolex, cool, a Gucci bag, awesome, a new Lexus in the driveway, a new home, whatever. Or the income properties we talked about. Or it might be something you want to do for your kids, send them to a really good college. Or it might be put $100,000 in savings. But you must know first what it is. I have this picture I want to show you. This is what's at stake. You really can't have a lifestyle like this, where it can be a boat, it can be playing golf, it can be vacations with the family. Find something that fires you up so much. This is the foundation. This is the fuel. And then constantly remind yourself, this is what I'm after. This is what matters to me. Can't go without it. Can't go without it. Be very specific. Find out what it is for you. Remind yourself constantly. This will be the fuel that will get you there, especially through days where it sucks. And it's going to suck sometimes. That's just the nature of this business, putting up with people, with their nonsense, with their anger and emotions. The days where you're going to contact 20 expireds and nothing's going to happen. The day where you're going to contact 5 FSBOs and they're all going to be rude to you. Deals will fall apart. Sellers will back out. Listings will cancel on you. But if you have this strong why, all you got to ask for is, well, what's my next step? What do I have to do next? Where do I go from here? Not can I get there to the 300, 400, 500. But how? What is my next step? Fill up on the fuel first. Become a rich person first. I posted this question on our private Rockstar group on Facebook, and I asked people, well, what do you think is the single biggest reason? And you know, majority of the answers were around the mind. Focus, discipline, inspiration, passion. And one of my students and good friend, Rosie, thank you for being honest. Rosie, if you watch, I really appreciate that. She says, I don't have the rich person habits. Deep inside, I don't believe I'm the person making $300,000 a year. Be that first. Become the wealthy person first in the way you feel, in the way you carry yourself, the thoughts you have. Catch yourself when you have a cheap thought. I did that, and I actually did this funny thing. I used a rubber band, and I would snap it every time I caught myself thinking scarcity, thinking not enough, thinking lack. And pretty soon your brain will adjust. So train yourself in the habits and the lifestyle of wealthy people. Do that for yourself. Start thinking like a wealthy person, start talking, acting. Now, I'm not talking these false pretend, but absorb it deep inside and watch how things change around you. Next, speak like it. Next, act like it. Hang out where wealthy people hang out. Play golf if you can and know how. Where do wealthy people go? Go to a really nice restaurant and just order some hors d'oeuvres. If that's the best you can do, that's the best you can do. But spend some time experiencing the lifestyle you're after. Drive through expensive neighborhoods. Go test drive that new Mercedes or a BMW. Have the salesperson take a picture of you in it. Get the taste for what you're after. Associate more with people that already achieved what you want to achieve. And you will notice something interesting. The higher the price range, the nicer the people somehow, because they don't stress and struggle as much. And they're willing to share. Part of their success that got them there in the first place is the mentality of abundance, that there is plenty. And they'll be happy to share, just like I share all this stuff for free. I don't charge you a dime. You're going to get more content today for free than many people charge hundreds and thousands of dollars for coaching. You will notice that when you start associating yourself with these people, things start changing too. Your mentality, your thinking, your outlook on life, and how much there is available, money and clients and business, more than you can possibly imagine. 5 million deals. 5 million transactions a year close in the United States. That's a lot of business. And you can have a big piece of it. But you start associating first with success. One of the things that really helped me early on is I got into a habit of taking successful, good agents to lunch. Or to breakfast, to a cup of coffee. Somebody who was doing well, somebody I noticed, ooh, she's getting a lot of listings. How? And it wasn't about stealing marketing pieces and all that. It was more about how do they think? How do they see the world? How do they operate? What inspires them? Take successful agents to lunch. They'll be happy to share. They'll be happy to talk to. It's kind of fun, and that's the reason I got into coaching many years ago, because I realized that more than just selling real estate and be good at it, it's fun to share. Do the same thing. Talk to successful people. Now watch out. If you average out the income of people you normally associate with, not counting your family, but people you hang out with, that's your income. You average out 10 people that you spend most time with, that's going to be your income. It is time to bump it up. Some friends, unfortunately, you would have to let go because people you associate with can hold you back. So change the people and the environment in which you live. Remember what I always say, do the best you can with what you've got. That's what you got to do. But do the best you can with what you've got. Start becoming the wealthy person first. Next, watch what you put in a gas tank. You treat your car better than you treat yourself. Think about that. What do you put in your car? Good gasoline, right? You wouldn't put some cheap crap that would stall the engine. And yet, what do you put in your head? The news, the bad news, the gossip, all that shit. And then you're surprised that you don't feel 100%, that you're not on your game, that you don't feel passionate, that you don't feel unstoppable. You cannot walk into a kitchen with chicken and cook a steak. It's impossible. What you put in is what you're going to get out. What do you put in? What goes into your gas tank? So my suggestion would be very diligent and deliberate about what you put in your gas tank. What is in your mind? What do you put in your mind? The books you read. Read good books. I'm going to give you 3 in just a moment that will help you adjust your core beliefs, your expectations, and your focus. But it's important if you sit in front of the news at 7 p.m. Does that make you feel good? Is it pleasant? Does it inspire you? Or do you feel like, oh shit, this world sucks, the economy sucks, the market sucks, people suck? We don't have live television feed in our house, deliberately. We watch Netflix, but it's selective when and what we watch. You've got to do the same thing. What you put in is what you're going to get out. Be deliberate about it. Okay, next point. Okay, let me give you the good books, since we're already on the subject. These are 3 that have really helped me adjust my core beliefs, how I felt, my self-image, my self-worth, and the stuff that goes on in my head. So, the first one I recommend is Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. Excellent book. Excellent book. You can get it in audio. You can also get it as a Kindle. You can get it as a paperback. Fantastic book. Highly recommended. The second one is by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. How to turn that voice in your head from your enemy and critic to your fan. Really, really good book. Very full of insight and practical steps. And then Jen Sincero's book, You Are a Badass. Another outstanding, inspirational, and fun book too. I love her language, love her direct approach. Tons of good advice, tons of good stuff. Pick these 3 up. Read these 3. And watch how quickly you can change stuff. Very, very highly recommended. Next, be grateful. We sometimes tend to be kind of harsh on ourselves, right? Beat yourself up a little. Be grateful. You're already doing a lot of stuff well. There's already a lot of stuff going on in your life that's worth being thankful for. So be thankful. Appreciate. Because the more you focus on it, the more you appreciate it, the more of it you're asking for, and the more it's going to come your way. I have this habit. I have a journal right here in my office, and I write every morning just few things that I really appreciate, that I'm grateful. One of them, having cool clients like you guys. I'm blessed in my business, and the reason I enjoy it so much is because you inspire me. Your achievement, your desires, your willingness to learn and get better and better, that's what makes my job worthwhile. It's not the money. The money pays the bills and we have a good lifestyle. I'm not complaining. This is how I put food on the table. But it is really you that make it special. And sometimes we tend to kind of forget. So be grateful and appreciate. Watch not just where you're screwing up, and I'm sure there are areas you can improve, but there are also certain things you do well. So be grateful for those. Appreciate those. Acknowledge them. Okay? I got to tell you, for a long time, and some of it came from my family programming, I held the belief that money was hard to come by. You got to work your ass off. You already work hard. It's part of it, but it is not the answer. Stop kidding yourself. Money's good. And being broke and desperate and being wealthy and doing well, I can tell you one thing. It's not easy either way. There is no free lunch. There's no free ride. You're going to have problems, and life is going to throw curveballs at you no matter what. It's going to be challenging no matter what. It's also going to be fun, and it's also going to be interesting and inspiring. But from the experience, I can tell you, if I'm going to pick hard, I'm going to pick wealthy rather than broke. Money is good. Money means freedom. Money can allow you to do a lot of stuff. So just accept that. Be cool with that. It's all good. Okay? Now, if you're really ready to make some serious changes, make a commitment. And there's a difference between just, it would be nice, it would be cool, I wish I, and saying, I'm going to do this no matter what. Where you commit, where you burn the bridge and say, there is no other way, I'm going for it no matter what. Now the only question I need to know is how. What are my steps? Then make the commitment publicly. Make a public declaration. One of the ways you can do this, after we're done today, really think this through. And when you're ready, go in our Rockstar group and make a public commitment, public declaration. In the next 12 months, I am going to achieve this kind of income, and this is my reward. A brand new BMW 700. That was the 700, by the way, on this picture. That's a nice 700. It's about $95,000 or so. Make a declaration. What are you after? Make it public. Now, will it require time and effort? You bet. A lot. So what you need to do, especially if you're married, you have children, and I know, Sarah, you were one of the nice people who posted that sometimes the goals are not aligned with my family goals, are misaligned with my business goals, because there are times you have to put long hours and work late and do all that. So the way you make it work is you bring them on board. You sit down with them and say, look, guys, I want to do something amazing for all of us. I want to take us on a cruise. I want to go on vacations. I want us to have a nice home. All this will require that sometimes I got to work late. I'm not going to be always available. I may miss some games with you guys. I may get up very early, so we don't get to see each other as much. But when we do see each other, it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to do this, but I'm going to need your help. And you're going to bring them on board. So now they understand, and you understand. That's how you align it. Is that making sense? Okay. All right. There's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation means rah-rah. The problem with motivation, short term it works. You can whip yourself up in the shape and go. Short term. Long term it will not work. Why? Because it's dependent on outside sources. On fear, mostly. If I don't do this shit, man, I'm going to go broke. I'm not going to be able to make my car payment. I'm not going to be able to make my mortgage. That's motivation. The problem with that is you focus on things you don't want, and guess what's going to happen? If you keep focusing on stuff you don't want, you're asking for more. You bet you're actually going to get more of that. The opposite to that is inspiration. You get inspired. You get excited. Inspiration comes from within. Inspiration is a pull, not a push like motivation. Where you know it's going to be awesome. I'm building an ideal lifestyle. Everybody else I know who've reached that level took certain steps. I can just follow those steps. You can do the same thing. Follow what I teach you, follow what other people share with you. It's just a matter of taking certain steps. Now we took care of the gas tank. Inspiration is the answer. That's the long-term answer. Not motivation, not fear-based, but joy, enjoy, passion-based. Okay? And then you're just going to ask yourself, well, what's my next step? What's my next step? Okay, so now, once we have that in our beautiful car, come up with a clever name for me. Shoot me an email. Come up with a name for our lovely car when we're done. What do we have here? Is navigation. And that's your plan. Okay? Make a simple plan. Now, I'm a big believer in simple, because if it's 127 steps and requires 7 pieces of technology, each one costing $180 a day, chance of you actually doing it is not likely. So you need just 2 points. And for that, we're going to have these 2 satellites up here. How is this for a satellite? Does it look like a satellite? All right? And they will triangulate your GPS in your car once you make a plan. First point, this is where I am. This is where we also tend to kind of beat ourselves up. Don't. Where you are is where you are. What really matters is, where are we going? What's my destination? Be the 300,000 or whatever. But come up with a simple plan. Now, here's the beautiful thing. All you've got to know is 4 numbers. Remember, we talked about this before. That's really all you need to know. 300,000 will require 30 deals in our example. To get to 30 deals, let's say you do 50% closing rate on your appointments. You're going to need to go on 60 appointments in the next 12 months. To get to 60 appointments, let's say 1 out of 5 leads converts. That's 300 leads. That's my plan. And then I'll just break it down by month, by week, by day. What do I have to do? About a lead a day. 1 good lead a day will keep the IRS away. Leads me to my LD lifestyle. Okay? That's a simple plan. That's a roadmap. Now, here's the cool about this roadmap. If you're off track, your GPS will warn you. Hey, wait a second. You can't go home yet. You don't have 1 lead there. This week, did you get your 6? This month, did you get your 30 or 20 or whatever it is? Hold yourself accountable, which is kind of a cool concept, right? So you have come on with a simple plan. Okay? Now, here's the thing about the GPS. A GPS can only triangulate. The satellites can only lock you in if you're moving. You cannot be parked in the garage. So you cannot sit passively. You got to be moving, even if you're going in the wrong direction. But you got to be out there, even if you're saying the wrong things, even if you don't have all your marketing in place. Don't use these things as excuses. It's just an avoidance behavior. It's a creative avoidance behavior. You've got to be moving so they can lock you in, correct your course, and get you to your destination. Got to be moving. Either you change how you feel, or you do it in spite of how you feel, but you got to be going. That's the secret to a GPS, okay? Now, we have a steering wheel here. Those are your habits. They will steer you either on track, on course, or off. Develop more success habits. Work on yourself. Be aware first. What habits do I have? Do you come in the morning in the office and spend first 30 minutes of your productive time on Facebook, then checking unimportant emails and spam and all that stuff? Do you chat with other agents in the office? Or are you ready to rock and roll at 6 a.m.? Do you meditate, visualize, prepare for a day, and then just like a rocket ship take off? What are your habits? And be honest. You're not that busy. Average person checks in Facebook 16 times a day. We spend 30 hours a month on our smartphone not talking, doing stuff, playing games, doing completely wasteful stuff. What about you? Be aware of your habits. Increase the good ones. Work on those, focus on those. Start eliminating the bad ones. Now, sometimes, especially around January, people tend to just kind of go gung-ho. I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And they overwhelm themselves. It's just like going to the gym and loading up 250 pounds. You're not going to lift it. You're just going to hurt yourself, get sore, and give up. So gradually make changes. But be focused and diligent and persistent. Start introducing changes that will get you to your goal. And just simply evaluate. You know what? My behavior is habitual. Everybody's behavior is habitual. But what are the habits I have in place? And are they steering me in the right direction, or are they getting me off course? Be diligent. Start taking control. Take over the steering wheel. Okay? So now, we have our plan, we have our strong why, we have the fuel, we have our GPS in place. What's next is so this is the mind. This is the engine. We talked about that. Get the good books, get your focus going. That's the engine that will drive it. Your mind, steered by your habits. Now we have these 4 things down here. 4 wheels. You need all 4. What would happen if one of them popped off? You're going to scrape, never making it to your destination. You're going to burn the engine, hurt. It's going to cost money, time, and effort, and at the end it's not going to work. So you need all 4. What are they? Number 1, that's part of the plan, is leads. Leads. This was one of the most shocking surprises to me when I started in real estate. Was that your experience? That the majority of the time, effort, money, and work is spent on generating leads. That was surprising to me. I don't know why I had this naive notion I'm just going to chauffeur people in my nice car and look at homes and have lunches with fancy people and wear my suit and all that. No, it's a lot of goddamn work, and most of it means generating leads. If you're not way on the way to your goal, it's usually this wheel is busted. You have a flat tire. So fix it. Fix it. You need these 4 systems in place. Lead generation system. Now, my suggestion, you know it, is always start with the easy ones. Start with those where you can pull up a whole bunch very quickly. Where do I start? For sell by owners. You can get on Craigslist and have 5 good leads in a matter of 2 minutes. Expired. New and old. If you have those in the area, work them first. Why? Because you can pull these leads very quickly. You don't have to spend a lot of money and time and effort looking for them. They've been already identified. Log into MLS or get one of those services like LandVoice, Vulcan, or Redx. They will get you FSBOs and expireds within minutes. And you're ready to go. Okay? Now you can add, let's say, open house leads, which is kind of cool because, again, the leads have been identified. Many who come to an open house come because they're thinking about either buying a house, selling a house, and preferably selling and buying a house. Okay? And then you can add maybe Facebook marketing and advertising and definitely referrals. Okay? This is plenty leads to do 30 deals a year, if that's what it takes for you, if that would get you to your goal. More or less, doesn't matter. These systems, FSBOs, expireds, open house, maybe Facebook or any other online advertising, if that's what your cup of tea, you're into it. Referrals, you're done. This wheel is set. Okay? That's number one. What's the second system you need to have? Communication system. Communication system. How do you communicate? This is by far the most important element that will distinguish you and differentiate you from other agents. And it is because, yes, a nice brochure helps, a good business card helps, a nice website, video, all these tools are important. But what it's going to come down to, all these leads, as you're working them, will go through the funnel and reach a certain junction, certain point. And that point is either a phone conversation or a personal conversation. If you screw this up, it's not going to go anywhere else. How you come across, especially your first impression, is vital. So important, many agents don't even realize where they screwed up. Why suddenly the seller tells them, oh, we have other agents we're going to interview, or we'll be ready in spring, or we don't know what we're going to do. We already have an agent in mind. These are all brushes. These are not objections. They're just brushing that agent off. They're politely telling them, we don't want to do business with you. Why? Because of the poor first impression. Because the agent either came across as needy, desperate, low status, or pushy and arrogant. One of the two. That's the problem. Having a strong communication in place solves the problem. Because it is by far the best tool you can have in your arsenal to differentiate yourself from everybody else. Because most agents say the same thing, sound the same, think the same, come across as the same. Salespeople, either really low status people or really high. If you work on your communication, you're going to solve a big problem. And you don't have to invest thousands of dollars in fancy marketing that will only get you to that junction point anyway. That's why I developed this. This is a core influence program. Great program if you struggle with confidence, if you don't know what to say, if you get stuck on objections, if people brush you off, if you're not converting enough leads into appointments, if you're not generating enough leads in the first place. This system has all the answers. I will walk you through the whole thing. Now, I know I told you this is not a sales pitch. Just to help you out, it is a tool that will make your life a lot easier. And people who are using it love it because it makes them better in the way they communicate. From generating leads and prospecting to following up to handling objections, setting appointments, it's all there. Okay? So just a little tool to help you out. Works really well. Okay, so that's communication. Now the third wheel right here is your follow-up system. Now here's a secret you may or may not know. Let me switch the camera. Most of your conversions, when you start prospecting, you start generating leads, will not happen on the initial contact. The first impression will only determine whether it's a go or no-go, whether these people will do business with you down the road or not. But to build enough trust, to build enough connection with them, not only takes skill and communication, but follow-up. Now, this could be a couple of phone calls, and a couple of emails, and a couple of thank you cards, or whatever. Sometimes it takes longer. But majority, up to 80%, happens between 5 and 15 contacts. Very important to know. It doesn't seldom happens on the first one. Even if you're really, I'm pretty good at communicating. I've been doing it for over 20 years. So I've mastered this part of interaction is how to communicate, answer questions, influence people. Which, by the way, core influence, that's why it's called that. It will influence people's core, not manipulate them. But even then, it took 5 to 15 contacts. Email, direct mail, thank you cards, market updates, phone calls, even visits. So you must have a system in place. Now, the way you set it up is just get a decent contact management system, contact relationship system. We are affiliated with Realty Juggler. Really good guys, really good service, works really well, very inexpensive. You can use Top Producer if you have the money and the resources for it. You can use iExact Contact. I like the independent companies rather than real estate specific, although like Remax and Keller Williams and all these great companies offer systems like that. My preference would be to go with somebody independent just in case. So just set one up, set up the sequence, keep in touch with people. Remember, 5 to 15 contacts. Very, very important, okay? So that's system number 3. So we got leads, we got communication, we got follow-up, and the fourth one is a presentation system. That will get you to the 300,000 or break through the barrier. Now we have 4 wheels in place, so think about it. You know how to generate leads. You know how to communicate with them. You know how to follow up with them, and now you know how to do a good listing presentation. Here's the secret to a good listing presentation. Majority of the first impression happens before you sit down with the seller. The kind of first impression you made, how you follow up with them, how diligent, helpful, and cool you were throughout the process, your pre-listing package, your pre-qualification call, presets, how are you going to be perceived when you sit down with that seller? High status, advisor, counselor, or low status needy agent that the seller has to watch out for. Very important. And then you just deliver a killer listing presentation. If you want me to, I can help you with it. I have a program, step by step, the whole thing. Whether you use mine or use somebody else's, be ready. Now, communication, generating leads, follow-up, presentation. First, you set up a system. Ask yourself, which one of these do I need to work on first? Are you generating enough leads? Start there. Are you getting enough leads, 300? Are you on track to do your number of leads, in this case 300 leads, to get you to your goal? It's a simple yes or no question. You have to take stock, take inventory. And at the end, I'm going to give you a simple step-by-step homework you can do to quickly evaluate so that the satellites can lock you in. This is where I am, this is where I'm headed. But start with leads. Most agents fail because of this. They don't have a good system or funnels to generate leads. Don't overthink it. You don't need to have complicated systems. For FSBOs, you just need to email them and communicate with them. For expireds, you need to contact them, call them, visit them, communicate with them. Open house, good communication, guest register so you can follow up with them. Where's our follow-up wheel? Right here, this one. Referrals, same thing. You maintain connection with them. Good follow-up. See how it's all working together? Okay, so now, start there. Once you have that in place, what's next? I got to work on my communication. So I'm not only generating numbers, but I'm converting so they go through this junction all the way to a listing, getting property sold, and a paycheck. And then evaluate your presentation, because that's really all you need. You have these wheels in place, your mind is in the right place, you have the engine, your habits are in good place, you have a strong why, you got to be going. Impossible not to. Is that making sense? Yeah? Do you guys see this? Let me show you a different angle. All right. So that's our fancy car. Now, part of what we talked about is it will require good habits. Right here. That's the steering wheel. You got to have good habits. If you have bad habits, you're going to steer off. There's a tool I use called Focus Time. It is an app that I have on my phone. I know sometimes sitting there and going, shit, I got a prospect for 3 hours today. I got to be on the phone for 3 hours. Feels unbearable. And it's hard to stay on track because we are so overwhelmed and so spoiled by constant bombardment of stimulation. Our brain just loves the stimulation. It's hard to just stay with one thing, isn't it? So here's a tool that I recommend. It's called Focus Time. It's an app. It's for iPhone. I think there is an Android version. I'm not sure. I'm an Apple guy. It goes to show you how effective Apple advertising and marketing is. And this will help you. What it does is it will break down each task you got to work on in 25 chunks. You work for 25 minutes, uninterrupted on a single task, be it call expired listings, following up with leads, working on my marketing to my sphere of influence, practicing my communication, whatever it is. When the buzzer beeps, the 25 minutes is up, you take a break. You get up physically for 5 minutes, reshuffle. Now, this has to do with our neurobiology. That's why focus time is so cool, because it allows our brain to reset. So when you're ready to go again, you feel recharged, you feel ready, you feel focused, and you have the energy to do it again. You get a lot more done. Really good program. Highly recommend it. Check it out. It's called Focus Time. Okay? Let's see. What else do I have here? Oh, one more tool I want to show you since we're on the tools. Because our brain of all the overwhelmment, we're just addicted, literally, physically, biologically getting addicted to checking our email and getting pinged when somebody likes our stuff on Facebook or when we get a new email. It makes it hard sometimes to shut up that drunken monkey. And that's where sometimes stress and overwhelmment and fatigue comes from. So I've discovered through a friend of mine who is an expert on hypnosis and neurobiology, how our brain works. He turned me onto this tool. It's called Muse, M-U-S-E, Muse. You turn it on, it pairs up with your phone. It has sensors here. Can you see it? These are brain sensors. And you put it on, you wear it just like this. You put on headphones too because it gives you audio feedback. You turn it on and it measures your brain activity. And you go into a very relaxed state. It will literally train you to relax your mind. The drunken monkey to shut up, be quiet, so that you can have peace and quiet and you reset your brain. You do this once a day. You start with 3 minutes, up it to 7, then 12, then 20. If you do this consistently, the app will track and measure your neurofeedback, your brain activity, calm, neutral, or active. Plus you're getting audio feedback, which is really cool because you wear headphones. When things are calm, you have these calm sounds, these gentle waves. As your brain starts getting more active, you get these noises and winds and all kinds of craziness going on. So it's really, really cool. Now, it's not cheap. This is $300 piece of equipment because it's a lot of sensors and it's pretty cool little piece of equipment, but it works great. I've been using it for about 2 or 3 weeks now, and I love it. I really enjoy it. So it's called Muse. You can get it on Amazon. I really enjoy it. So something practical for you, a couple of tools that may help you out. Okay. Now, one thing that will help you, remember we talked about habits, is get an accountability partner, someone you can practice with and hold each other accountable. In the boot camp, I have a 7-week program where we work together every week where we build these systems. Everything you see here, we build together. And in the boot camp, you're going to get a partner. But you don't need to be in my boot camp for you to find somebody who is just as motivated, who is inspired, who is passionate and dedicated and committed like you are. Go to our Rockstar website. Maybe you can find somebody there. Maybe it's somebody in your office. Who it is, excuse me, doesn't matter as much as it is somebody you connect with. And then you support each other, work on each other's habits, coach each other, encourage each other, hold each other accountable, and be tough on them so that they're tough on you in a good way, obviously, but support each other that way. Very, very cool. I had my buddy Tony in Remax. Tony, if you happen to watch this, thank you so much, man. This was so valuable what we used to do, where we would hold each other accountable, help each other out, and role play with each other. By the way, role playing is one of the critical core qualities and behaviors, habits, you can develop that will get you to your destination. Tony and I, 8 o'clock in the morning, cup of coffee, and we just role play like ping pong, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Find somebody like that. Find your Tony and role play. Really commit. There's something powerful that happens when you make a big commitment like that. Like, we're going to do this 6 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8:30. You send this signal like, I'm really serious, universe, or God, or high power, whatever name you feel comfortable with. It's just a label. But it's important to declare and send it out, and then just stick with it diligently. Put it in your calendar, really commit. Fair enough? So do that. All right. Now, one thing about practice I need to say is that practicing only makes permanent. Practicing the right stuff will make it perfect. So practice the right stuff, but practice, really get good. Communication really is the critical junction right here. If you have these systems in place and you know how to talk to FSBOs, you know how to talk to expireds, you know how to talk to guests at an open house, how to communicate with your sphere of influence to get referrals, this all becomes a lot easier. The roadmap becomes slightly easier. Okay? So that's what you got to do there. Let's see. We talked about follow-up. Oh, one more thing. There will come a point where things will get busy. You start generating leads, you get good at communication, some of the listings start coming in, and then you stop. Because of course you want to get paid, of course you want to service your clients, you want to do a good job for them. So guess what? First tire that blows up is generating leads, your prospecting. The second tire that blows up is your follow-up, because you're just going to get busy. And then this is what's going to happen. Your business is going to go up, business is going to go down. And then you become desperate again, still listings sell, you got paid, but nothing in the pipeline. So you start busy again, you pump the air back in, and you keep going, and then you stop. And you go and you stop. That's where it comes from. So I'll give you a simple solution. First, you got to be disciplined and organized. That's why the good habits are here. That's why the planning is important, because you know you're on track or off track. But there's another piece to it. Get help. Get an assistant. Even if it's a part-time, 1 hour a day, get help. You should not be screwing around with flyers and MLS and pictures and emails and delivering copies and paperwork and any of that. I tell you, this was one of the biggest mistakes I made. I was an idiot that worked 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. Because my thought was, well, I need to make certain income first to be able to afford an assistant. Totally backwards. And I'm a pretty smart guy. I consider myself fairly intelligent. This was one of the dumbest things I did. And it was part of it because I thought I don't have enough money, number one. And number two, it was a control issue. Because I thought, the egotistical maniac idiot idea, I don't know where it got from, nobody can do it as good as I can. Only I can do it this way. Well, guess what? Half the stuff didn't need to be done at all. Half the stuff didn't need to be done perfectly at all. Big mistake. Don't be the idiot I was, sitting in front of a fireplace going, why don't you warm me up first, then I get some wood. Doesn't work that way. You've got to get this car going. You got to get help. Because even if you hire somebody for hour, 2 hours a day, that's maybe $100, $150 a week, money well spent. Mental cycles you don't have to waste on stuff that somebody else can do for you. Worst comes to worst, get a virtual assistant. I'm not a huge fan of them because it's nice to have somebody in the office where you can hand off the paperwork and say, go get this done, go get this copied and deliver these and do that. Plus you can look over their shoulder, make sure the work is done. They can ask you questions. It's just nice. But even virtual is better than nothing. Get help early. It will get you to your destination a lot faster. Okay? So hire somebody. All right. Yes, here's the number. We're going to do some chatty. Good stuff so far, you guys. Are you enjoying it? See, it's not that complicated. I'm not saying it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It is hard. But being broke is harder. You can do this. You can totally pull this off. All right, we talked about that. Talk about all that. Good. So now, remove distractions. Adjust your self-image, practice, get an accountability partner, get help. Good, looks like we covered it all so far. If you have any questions, for those of you guys who are on the phone, it's *6, and we can chat. I will turn the Q&A on now. So just hit *6 if you're on the phone and you want to ask questions, anything that is either not clear or you want to jump in. You saw the number on the screen. Okay, so now let me show you the journey. Let's see here. Oh, before we do, somebody has a question. Hey, it's Borino. Welcome to the show. Are you having a good time? Who is this? Okay, I just have to mute this. And you want to ask questions?
Hello?
Hey, it's Borino. Who is this?
It's Jeffrey, Borino. How are you doing?
Doing great, Jeffrey. You might have a little delay between the video feed and an audio. It's because the feed comes live and then a video is being sent through the YouTube media server. So if you can just lower the volume on your YouTube if you're watching it. Jeffrey!
Yeah, this is low. Okay. Yeah,
okay, good. What's up, my man? Having a good time? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really good stuff. Pretty much, I think my biggest struggle is the presentation. I mean, I took on a few listings when I started the boot camp. I got 2 listings so far, which was great, and I just went at it. I didn't utilize the presentation that you have because I haven't really studied that. But what did you suggest, or what pointers you can give me that I can get better at my presentation when preparing for a listing appointment.
Okay. So how can you make your listing presentation better? Do you have the Presentation Plus? Do you have that system?
I think it was in the package.
It is.
I believe it was included. Yes.
Yeah. Here's what I would recommend. I have a program called listingpresentationplus.com where you get the pre-listing materials, the actual coaching videos, how to prepare for a listing presentation, what a listing presentation should look like, plus you get all the slides and all the information that you present to the seller. That's what Jeffrey's referring to. Okay. So here's what I would recommend. Of the listing presentations you've done, the last 3 or 4, did you get any listings at all?
Yes, I have. I did get them. There's been some in the past that I didn't get, but it was, there were other agents that came better prepared than I did.
Okay, so you need to be better prepared. That's really a good insight.
Right.
So here's what I would recommend. First, watch all the videos. They're short 5, 10, 12-minute videos that will walk you through the psychology of the seller, how to influence them without manipulation, how to prepare, what to ask. This is not about memorizing scripts, but it is about influencing people through the way you come across and through the way you communicate. So step 1, watch all the materials. It should take you probably a couple hours to go through the whole thing. That would be 1. 2, I would recommend get 2 things. Get one of those little pocket digital recorders and record the audio of your presentation while you practice.
Okay.
Sit down with your wife, sit down with another agent or a friend, and just go through the whole thing and record it. And then listen to the recording and pick things that you do well and pick things that you need to work on.
Okay.
One of the things that was startling to me, Jeffrey, is I recorded my presentation thinking it was going to be good. I asked all the questions and I spoke very little. Most of the time the seller was doing the talking and they loved me. And then when I listened to them, I'm like, holy shit, that's not the same presentation. What happened?
Right.
Startling. I was talking too much. I didn't ask enough questions. I wasn't connected to the seller at many points. Having this little tool will help you improve these. And also what you do well already, you do more of that. So practice, record it, and the last thing I would suggest is get a video camera. Record yourself on a camera. One of the things we're going to do sometime in June is the Presentation Plus Live. That's what we're going to do with you. For 2 days straight, you're going to be doing nothing but listing presentations on camera. And it's a small group of agents, and then we're going to record you, and we're going to put you on a big screen, and you're going to watch your ass go, oh, I can't believe I said that, or I did that. And we're going to correct it, you know what I mean? But you don't need me for that. I mean, if you want to come to DC, I invite you guys. It's a lot of fun. We had about 25 people last year. We record the whole thing for you. And it's really cool. It's helpful. But that's something you can do yourself, even like on a smartphone.
Right.
You know what I mean? So record yourself and evaluate. Now, here's a little insight that I want to give you when it comes to listing presentations. Now, can you see the video feed too, or are you just on the phone, Jeffrey?
I'm sorry?
Can you see the video feed, or are you on the phone?
No, I can see the video, but it's a little behind.
Yeah, it is on a delay. Okay, but that's good enough. So this will make sense to you. I'm drawing a line with 3 points. This is the initial contact. The first point on the timeline, that's where you made the initial contact with the lead. Then there's a second point where you set up the appointment. And then there's the actual listing appointment. That's the third part. Okay, so there are 3 parts. So let's say you contacted a for sale by owner. That was your first contact, and this was, let's say, January 10th. Okay? Then you follow up. This is the follow-up sequence. And let's say on February 15th, you agreed to get together, to set up a listing appointment. And that listing appointment was, let's say, on February 20th. Okay? The reason you screwed up and didn't get the listing on February 20th is not because of your presentation here as much as it is because what happened prior to that.
Right.
Because by the time you meet with the seller here, much of how you're going to be perceived has been already set with the seller.
Got it.
Including your first impression, your status, and a frame. When I say frame, who was going to be in control? The seller dictating and controlling price, terms, and all that, or you? Are you perceived as a high status leader, agent, consultant, or are you perceived as a salesperson? Much of that happened before they even met you. Now, the fact that they were willing to sit down with you meant you still had a fighting chance. But it's hard to recover it during the listing appointment. It's much easier to preset it up. Okay? Now, when you are in the game and you do the actual presentation, you have to be congruent. Congruent with being a high status agent, advisor, counselor, not needy, where you don't need the listing. And this cannot be a shtick. This cannot be just a manipulation. You genuinely must come in and say, look, I'm not really sure we're going to work together. Maybe we get along, maybe not. Maybe we'll like each other, maybe not. We're going to spend the next 12 minutes, the next 20 minutes, try to figure it out. Okay? Just like you have the right not to hire me, it's perfectly all right. I'm not perfect for every agent and for every seller. I can walk away as well. Okay? Very different frame. And then you just follow the presentation plus outline. See, it's set up based on human psychology. It is not selling. The entire listing process is not based on selling. It's based on psychology. And you must follow it to get the result you want, which is to get a good listing. Is that making sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Do you know what to do?
Yeah, this is good. This is great stuff.
Okay, good. Once you master it, and it's really funny, if most of the comments I get from people who are using the presentation process, once you get it, it's the easiest thing to do. It becomes so easy because there is no arm wrestling. There's no conflict between you and the seller. You're always on the same page. It's just like when a patient goes to a doctor. There's no fight between the patient and the doctor. We're on the same page. We have a problem and we have a solution. You do the same thing from the very beginning, but that's why it's so important at the beginning you position yourself as a guide, as a counselor, as an advisor, not a salesperson. Now, this is both simple and difficult, you know? But once you master it, it's not that hard. All right. Jeffrey, did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Also, can you repeat the name of that device that you mentioned earlier? The brainwave thing.
Oh, the brainwave thing. It's called the Muse. It's called the Muse. M-U-S-E. Muse.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. It's like $2.99. I really enjoy it. Okay. I really feel very different. I meditate for a long time. I've been meditating last, I don't know how many years. But this really takes it to a very different level. It's very great. It's a really nice tool. Highly recommend it.
Okay.
All right, man?
All right, sounds good.
Good deal, Jeffrey. Nice talking with you, brother.
Thank you, Borino. All right, thank you.
Talk to you, bye. Hey, it's Borino. Welcome to the show. This is your coach, Borino. Who is this?
It's Gregory Victor.
Gregory, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing very good. I'm also a European brat like you.
Where are you from?
Russia.
Russia. Oh, здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Привет. Gregory, are you having a good time? Have you learned something cool new today?
Yes. I bought your program in July. I was practicing and I was studying, watched a lot of videos.
Thank you. Thanks for being a client. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And tried a lot of stuff, but I had a challenge. First of all, I'm in Canada, and the law says that you can't contact expired. So
right.
One of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all is pulling out their phone numbers.
Yes.
That is another difficult part because you can print out 20 to 30 expired for the last 10 days, which are actually fresh off the market, and they're pissed off at their agent, and they don't want to make up friends with them anymore, and so on and so forth. But out of that, you could probably find 2-3 phone numbers.
Right.
This is my biggest thing. Where can I get most of it?
Okay. Well, let me address a couple of them. Yes, certain provinces in Canada, you cannot contact expired.
Right.
It's really simple. You're not going to get in trouble because of the sellers. It's going to be because of the other agents get pissed off and they will turn you in. So just heads up, there is no way around it. I can't change the law. So you're unfortunately...
Oh, no, I know that.
You know that. Now, as far as the phone numbers, there are services in the U.S., LandVoice, RedX, Vulcan 7, that do the phone numbers. Whether they're available in Canada, I do not know, but I recommend check it out. Maybe they are. Or maybe there's an equivalent to that. That's not something... LandVoice,
okay.
RedX, Vulcan 7. RedX is R-E-D as in David and then letter X. I tell you what, guys, here's my email. Yeah. It's borino@expiredplus.com. Just email me. I'll send you the info. Okay. So that's when it comes to phone numbers. These tools can help you. Okay?
Okay.
Now, don't overthink it, Gregory. If you don't have the phone number, you can still get the listing. Just because you can't call them doesn't mean you can't list that property. What I recommend is use all three channels.
That's right.
Mail them. You have the sequence in the Expired Plus. Call them if you can. Visit them in person, and if you have their email, email them. Do all of that. Now, one tool I can give you that many people don't know about, this will be kind of a little practical, strategic thing. Use LinkedIn. See if you can look up the seller on LinkedIn. Because often you may get their business email or business phone number where you can call them. Okay? Now, as far as sellers being angry, yes, they'll be angry. They'll deal with a lot of emotions. That's just the reality of it. Two things I can give you there is be one of the first ones to call. Be one of the first ones to visit them as well. Go there early, number one. Number two. And number two, it is what it is. You cannot change somebody's emotion. You can adjust how they feel. Let them vent first. But a lot of it, Gregory, depends on your first approach. Again, what we talked about a little while ago is the first impression. See, if you annoy them, or if you use the scripts that everybody else is using, if you sound just like every other agent, of course they're going to get pissed off.
Okay.
Very important to follow the scripts, whether you have the Core Influence or the Expired Plus, is follow the dialogue outlines so that you don't sound like every other agent. So that you do come across as helpful and cool and pleasant. Okay?
Great. Okay.
The way you get there is what we talked about, practice. That's how you're going to get good. Practice the right dialogue outlines. Do it a lot. You're going to get better at it. And the last thing I'm going to give you is some people, no matter what, they're going to be nasty. They're going to be angry. Be okay with that. We need a thick skin in this business. Follow up with them, give them a chance. Now, if they keep being abusive and idiots and douchebags and angry, screw them. Next. That's the cool thing about this business. There's always somebody else you can go help. There's plenty of business out there. So if somebody's really nasty to you and somebody's really not pleasant, does not appreciate you after a while, you give them repeated chances, just drop them. No need to work with difficult jerks. No need. There's plenty of others. Plenty. But that's the hard part. That's why I spent so much time talking about the mind in the beginning. Because if you completely accept the belief that there's plenty of business, that there are a lot of nice people out there, that there's so much money you can make as an agent, and you can do this, the rest just becomes mechanics. You pop on the four wheels we talked about, fire up the engine, off you go. But if you don't believe that, if you think people are nasty, it's hard to get hold of them, this is a difficult way to make a living, and I have to compete with a bunch of other agents, guess what? That's going to be your experience. And I struggled with this for a long time, thinking, oh, this is just airy-fairy bullshit New Age thinking and positive thinking and wishful and all that nonsense. No, that's just how it worked. It just took me too long, and I got bruised and banged up unnecessarily for too long. Before the light bulb went on, I was like, stupid. There is an easier way. There's plenty of business. This is not hard. Tons of people who need my help. Tons of agents already making a lot of money. Why not you? Really that simple.
That's right.
Make sense?
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Makes sense. Yes, you answered my question.
All right, good deal. Thanks for the call, Gregory.
I guess I'm going to have to wait for the warm weather because now we have minus 17.
It is cold. But I mean, think about it this way. Do people still list properties in minus 17?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Why not with you?
Right.
Something to think about. Don't use weather or outside circumstances as an excuse. Is it challenging? Hell yes. We had 20 degrees here in D.C. I'm not saying it's easy. For those of you suckers in Florida and California, damn you. But it can be done. People still list and sell properties every day. Don't let weather get in your way. Okay? Thanks for the call, Gregory. Really appreciate it. Hey, it's Borino. Welcome to the show. Who is this?
Hey, Borino, it's Sean out in the Quad Cities. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. How you doing, my man?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Hey, I just want to real quick first touch on your last guy that was talking.
Yeah.
Last week, I was out door knocking, and we got 18 inches of snow, and I was out door knocking.
You're hardcore, Sean.
So it's doable.
It's doable.
But that is my question. Since the last time I talked to you, which was a couple months ago, I put in my funnels for my lead generation. So I do my for sale by owner, and I do my expireds, and I do door knocking.
Outstanding.
Again, if you remember, I moved to an area that I don't know anybody.
Yep,
So it was kind of no sphere to play off of. I'm averaging probably 300 door knocks a week.
Okay.
I talk to about 100 people from door knocking. The rest of them are not home. But I'm not converting anybody or getting, and I'm asking, hey, if not you, do you know anybody from work or church that might be looking to buy or sell or invest in real estate in the next, 30 to 60 days that I could speak with? And I'm not getting anything in response. So I'm trying to figure out where my disconnect is.
I'll show you exactly where it is. That's a really good question, Sean. I'm glad you brought this up. Here's the problem. A perfect stranger knocks on somebody's door and asks, would you trust me, perfect stranger, enough to recommend somebody to buy or sell a home through me? Even if I knew somebody, chances are I would not, because I don't know you. I have no connection with you. I have no trust with you. So to knock on somebody's door and ask for a referral to me is a complete waste of time, and your results prove it. I give you a big kudos for effort, but you're wasting your time. Does door knocking work? Sure it does, but it requires a different approach. That's why the communication is so important. First, I would recommend get the core influence, because that will help you with mastering how you communicate with strangers. But just to give you some tips how to do that, use a softer, non-threatening approach and be very specific while you're there. Actually, let me go to the big board. So the number one is have a solid reason why you're there. And it's not to beg for business, to beg for referrals. Here's one of the easiest way to do that. Promote your open house, promote a just listed property or just sold property. Have some flyer with you, some information with you. On back, you have a call to action. That's how I do door knocking. I door knocked the city of Whittier twice. And it took me about a year and 8 months. I wore out like 3 pairs of shoes doing that. But it also allowed me to get to know the neighborhood and master certain parts of communication. Have a strong why. Hi, this is Borino with ABC Real Estate. Just wanted to let you know that Jack and Mary Smith around on Oak Street hired us to help them sell their property, and we're looking for somebody who may make a good neighbor. Would you happen to know anybody who would be looking for a home in this neighborhood? Hand them the information. How about you guys? Any thought about moving somewhere else? Have you thought about living somewhere else? Get in a conversation this way. That's all you got to do. Now, the trouble with door knocking is majority of the leads you're going to get, because occasionally somebody will say, yeah, we're thinking about going somewhere. It's a long-term lead. That's why I didn't have it on my list of the lead funnels, because majority of the leads you're going to encounter through farming and door knocking will be a year in advance, 2 years ahead, 3 years down the road. That's why I so much prefer expireds, old expireds for sell by owners, open house leads, and referrals, because they're immediate or a relatively short window. Would I still combine door knocking? Sure. Promote my open house, promote my listings, promote just listed, just sold. That's all groovy. But as a main core of lead generation, I think it's a long shot. Did I answer your question, Sean?
It did.
Okay.
And one of the things that I do when I'm doing that door knocking is I always do my door knocking around an expired, because a lot of times I have trouble finding that phone number. So that's where, I try and go around those to at least make it somewhat.
Just as a communication point, the dialogue you role played with me that you used, I think it sounds too official, too stiff. Soften it up, use a very conversational language. I deliberately use words like folks and you guys and specific names and streets, more like person talking to person. Imagine, Sean, that you're not door knocking a neighborhood, but you knocked on your neighbor's door. What the conversation would sound like? Would it be different?
Yes.
Of course. So now use that approach, that feeling of this is just my neighbor. Now they may live 2-3 miles away from your house, but that's relative. Other than the geographic proximity, don't change the dynamic. Use the same dynamic you would use with your friend or your neighbor. And suddenly your tone will change, your posture will change, your eye contact will change, the words you use change, and the experience changes. Is that making sense?
It does.
Okay, good. Helpful?
I appreciate it.
Yeah? Was that helpful?
It was.
Good. Anything else?
No, I'm going to actually implement because I actually just got a listing in the neighborhood, so I'm going to try that approach this weekend.
Try it. Try it. You'll be surprised. It works really well. All right, John. Thanks for the call. Hey, it's Borino. Welcome to the show. Who is this? Hello.
Hi, Borino. It's Chris. How you doing?
Chris, my man. How are you?
I'm good. Couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
In regards to expires diagram.
Yeah.
I'm taking your course, and it's becoming overwhelming. Not just to follow it, but actually implementing it. I'll tell you why. I got a lot of expires and calling them and door knocking, and a lot of them, they are not at home, so I'm leaving the package at the door.
Yeah.
But with all of that, there's a sense that I am not getting through to them. They're starting to fall through the cracks. What I mean by that, yes, I leave them the package. They are not responding, and that there's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and by the time I get to them again, they are listed, or I miss them somehow.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Chris. Now, somebody's getting the listings, so somebody's doing something right. So what you got to do is adjust your approach. Here's what I would recommend. Number one, cut back on numbers. Cut back on the volume. It is not just in the volume, it is in the quality of the approach, because obviously this approach is not working. So instead of doing, let's say, 50 expireds, cut back to 20 and do those well. That's number one. Number two, have a system in place, an organized system where this is my step one, step two, step three. First contact, executed, follow-up, autopilot, which is what we talked about. Remember, one of the wheels on the car was a good follow-up system. What do you use, Top Producer or Realty Juggler? What do you use? What system do you use now?
I do Top Producer. Actually, I suck at that. I hate that program.
Well, and I agree. It's complicated and it's too bulky, and you don't need probably half of the stuff it does. Go to Realty Juggler. That would be my recommendation. Great support, not difficult to master. It's going to take you probably a weekend to learn it. You will not lose business. But here's the thing. Majority of your conversions will happen during your follow-up. That's where the magic happens. So you must have a follow-up system in place. Don't rely on initial contact. That's not enough.
Yeah.
Only about 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 will convert because of your initial contact.
Yeah. Now, I'm looking at your diagram that I have in front of me.
Yeah.
And showing phone number, no phone number, call, contact, no contact. Now, is there any sequence? Because what happened, I am a person of habits. I like to implement the habits. I put it in my schedule, and I can execute that. Now, I'm struggling because I don't see a sequence. I can see the diagram, but I don't really know when to do that.
You mean the follow-up sequence, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the whole diagram system that you put it on the page, right?
Yeah.
Do you know which one I'm talking about? Is it expired one?
Yeah, it's really simple. Here is the sequence, Chris. You make the initial contact as soon as possible. The earlier, the better.
I know that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Then you start the mailing sequence parallel to that. The sequence is in the book. Just follow it.
Yeah.
That's where the contact management system will come in play, because it will have it organized for you. It will do it for you. All you've got to do is follow the sequence that you pre-program in there. So that's step 2. Go visit them as early as possible, and then go back 2 or 3 times where you know you have a best chance of reaching them at home. You're overthinking it. It's really not that complicated. Now, here's where you get overwhelmed. You do everything yourself. You're a one-man shop. That would be like this, Chris. Imagine you opened, what's your favorite food?
Chinese, let's say.
Chinese, fantastic. Imagine you open Chris's Chinese Chopsticks restaurant, okay? And you are the chef, you are the waiter, you are the manager, you are the busboy, you do everything yourself. You would go crazy after a while. Not only that, something will suck. Either the food will be no good, or the service will be horrible, or you can't charge a lot of money. You would become a food truck.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? You cannot run a profitable, effective business by yourself. It's not designed for that. You're not meant to do that. You do it out of desperation or greed or control, like me. That was my problem for a very long time. You got to get help, because you cannot do high volume contact of expireds, negotiating contract, preparing for listing presentations, previewing, staying on top of the market, and having life, and do this long term while being a very successful, wealthy real estate agent. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
What I have done, exactly what you're speaking. What I have done is this: phone calls is a volume drop-bys, I cut off to certain neighborhoods that are close by
Okay.
that I can go by. But it seems that the follow-up, I need to cut it out as well.
Absolutely. No, don't cut a follow-up.
No, in terms of drop-bys, because it's becoming too many of them.
Well, here's the thing. Right, cut back on the numbers. And also pick times where your chances of reaching them at home are the best. That's the secret.
Right.
Don't go there
Well,
at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, that's my time, because later on is negotiating the contract, meeting with the client. So my afternoons are quite busy. So the only thing I can drop by is between, let's say, 1 and 3 o'clock.
That's not a good time to go. You're wasting your time. Pick times where you know they're going to be there. There would be 7 to 8 a.m. and there'll be 7 to 8 p.m. Those are the best times. I mean, if you want to reach them. Because if you don't want to reach them, you can have a messenger service or your assistant drop off the packages. But that's not the point. The point is not the package. The package helps, but it will not. This is not the vehicle. The vehicle is your connection and communication with the seller. In order for you to do that, you either need to talk to them on the phone or in person.
So, Borino, speaking to that, that's a good point. So let's say I have a neighborhood that I can actually physically reach them, and they are just about 8 to 10 expires in that neighborhood. That's not enough for me to carry on the business. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. So what's the alternative?
Well, only two things I have. Expand, which is, and service them less.
No, I don't think that's the alternative, Chris. I think you're investing too much time in doing stuff that either can be delegated or doesn't need to be done at all. That's my opinion.
Okay.
And if we could go, we don't have the time to go through your activities step by step. But if you diligently go through it, you will realize that probably 60 to 70% of your time is being wasted. If you can adjust it, you'll get back on track.
No problem. So would you suggest to not dropping packages at all?
No, that's not what I'm suggesting at all. No, I'm saying call early in the morning, visit them early in the morning, then do your follow-up, then do the busy work, and then visit them in the evening. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Yeah?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thanks for the call, Chris. Appreciate it, man. Keep me posted, okay?
Right.
All right, brother.
I will. Yep.
All right. This is Borino. Welcome. Who is this?
Hi, Borino.
Yes.
Hi, it's Vic.
Vic, how are you, my man?
Good. Long time no talk.
I know. Are you enjoying the show?
I am. It's been great.
Good. How can I help?
So I've been doing my calling with expireds, and I'm getting better at it as far as objections go. Yesterday, set up an appointment with one.
Good for you.
And then the second one, he's like, "Oh, you're too late," and it's only been like 3 days. Like, "You're too late," I already got an agent, and I kept talking to him, trying to get through the objections, and he wouldn't tell me who the other agent is, but I kept trying to pass right through the objections. And when I tried to set an appointment, he said, "Oh, I'm going on vacation this weekend." So I said, "Okay, how about next week, Wednesday, 6 o'clock? How does that work for you?" And he was about to say yes, and he said, he's like, "Well, let's touch base next week."
Okay, let me stop you right there, Vic. We're having a conversation, okay? Let's do a real quick role play just to kind of dissect it to show you what really happened.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what was his level of trust in you, your abilities, you as an agent?
Probably 1. He doesn't know me.
No, I think it was more than that. If he was willing to talk to you, I think it would be somewhere around 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Your objective at the beginning is to raise it to about 8. Now, here's how I would do that. In that specific scenario, I would say, "Vic, something is holding you back. I feel hesitation in your voice. Can you tell me what it is?"
He's like, "Well, I'm a savvy buyer and seller. I do a lot of research. I'm not an agent, but I know a lot of things."
Sure. So do you feel like I may or may not be competent enough to get the property sold for the best price? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not sure. I just, I already told this other guy, and you're kind of late in the game.
Possibly, yeah. But then again, what if I'm a better choice?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
So here's what we're going to do. Why don't we meet for 10, 15 minutes? Let's see if we like each other first. Let's see if we get along, and then we'll decide. Maybe we agree to work together, maybe not. What's the worst that can happen is you reaffirm that the other agent is a much better choice, kind of a nice peace of mind. Maybe I'm a better choice. Maybe I choose not to take the listing and work with you. Who knows? But we won't know until we try. So let me stop by tomorrow at 5. You're going to give me a super quick tour of the house. We'll shake hands, talk, and we'll take it from there. Would that work for you?
Yeah, that will work.
Super easy. Now notice how I turned it. Notice that it was no longer about me trying to get the listing and see if I qualify to be his agent. I still give him the freedom to say, hey, I don't want to work with you, which is fine. But I also tell him, maybe you're not my client. You see what I'm saying? And I ease it up a little, I smile a little, no big deal, non-threatening. And I also did one more thing. This is straight from Core Influence, and that is time constraint. See, the last thing this guy wants, and anybody else for that matter, is have a salesperson sit there for an hour and waste their time and try to push them and manipulate them into listing with them. I removed that fear.
And I did use it. I'm like, 10, 15 minutes of your timeline, and I said, what if it can net you $5,000 more in your pocket,
Good.
by the way.
You never know. Now, here's what I would recommend. Do the best you can with what you've got. If this guy, you gave it the best shot and he still didn't go for it, move on. No big deal.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Which is great. But I would go there in person no matter what. Even if he clearly tells me, no, get lost, don't want to do anything with you, I would still stop by.
Yeah.
And I would tell him, look,
so it's a little different.
If you can. You know what I mean? Sometimes when they say we already have an agent in mind, they already have an agent in mind, and the trust with that other agent is too strong, there's nothing you can do to cut it.
Yeah.
And you cannot reason with them. Logic will not get you very far. This is really an issue of trust, which is an emotion. You know what I'm saying? So just do the best you can. You've done pretty well. The results you're getting are pretty good.
He was very curious as to how I can net him $5,000 more. And that's what I was trying to get an appointment with.
Yeah. Now, maybe you get it, maybe you won't. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the less you pressure yourself and the seller, the easier it is to get it. The less you try, the easier it is.
Yeah.
Because then you can tell him, look, this may be not just a matter of money, but how well the transaction will go. Now, you may have 100% confidence in your other agent, and that's great, and I respect that. I'm not here to knock anybody. But don't you think you deserve at least the benefit of the doubt? Just to be 100% certain? Wouldn't that be helpful to at least know how one of the greatest agents in this area gets property sold and nets a lot of money to those sellers? I have no secrets. I'll share that with you. If nothing else, you can tell the other agent, hey, do this. This guy's doing it and obviously it works, so do the same thing. Would that be helpful?
Yeah. That would be helpful, yeah.
See what I mean? So I hook him. And I hook him by being cool, being counselor, not being attached. Yeah?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good deal.
Great tips.
Good. Glad you enjoyed it. All right, man. Go out and get him. All right.
Borino.
Thanks for the call, Vic. Really appreciate it. All right, guys. There's one more thing I wanted to show you before we wrap up. And that is the journey that will get you to your destination. So, before I give you your homework and I give you your assignments, here's what's going to happen. You are here. This is the starting point. Okay, this is your car. Beautiful Mercedes. Ready for the road trip, right? And you say, here's my destination. This is where I'm going. That's my end goal. That's my 300,000, just so that we stay congruent with the title of this. And you plan it out. This is how I'm going to get there. And you know the road, what will it going to take. All the pieces are in place. So, that's theory. In reality, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get on the road, and all of a sudden, you come to a boulder, big roadblock. And this can be a difficult seller, a nasty expired. What do? Get around it, crush it, or stop? How you decide here will determine whether you're going to get there. Then you keep going, and suddenly there's water full of sharks, other agents gunning for you. You just keep going, around, over, under. And then you go to a bridge. All right? This is the bridge. There's the river. And suddenly half of the bridge is gone. How do you get across? How do you keep going? The important question is how. Deals fall apart. Prospecting that doesn't work for you. Systems that fail. You just keep going. Then you come to this giant mountain. And you stand down here and go, how in the world am I going to get all the way up there? You got to come up with a plan. How to get there. And you're going to keep going, zigzagging, overcoming obstacles until you get there. That is the reality. It's not going to be a straight line. Don't expect it. The reason I want you to be prepared here at the starting point is because if you already know that there'll be some insecurities, some fears I have to deal with, some habits I need to work on, some obstacles I'm going to have to overcome, that it's not going to be a straight line, but I have to deal with situations. I have to put up with difficult people. I have to handle crisis. If you know it up front, when you hit it, it's not going to deter you. It's not going to push you back. It's not going to throw you off. And if it does, you just kind of get up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Because if you know here, it's coming, you can prepare. What am I going to do here? How am I going to get over it? What am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? How am I going to get over this? If you know here that it's coming, it's just another step I need to take and figure out how. How do I get to my 300,000? And more than just 300,000, to the lifestyle I want. To the things I want for me, my family, my friends, people I care about. That's the price you're going to pay. And there'll be some cuts and bruises, I guarantee you. This is not easy, but I assure you, this is worth it. Because here is not just the money, but the person you're going to become. Where you're going to look back and says, holy shit, I did all right. Look at that, what I've accomplished. I've accomplished something that most people can't do. There is not a coincidence that most agents in the United States make less than $40,000. Why? Because the first roadblock they hit, they get stuck. They start feeling sorry for themselves and they don't have a plan to get through, over, under. They don't know how to finish this bridge or where to look for somebody who can help you. Someone like me, I'm here to help. I'll help you. We built this bridge. I'll show you how to get rid of the sharks, how to defeat the fear, the insecurity, the overwhelming, the stress. All you got to do is reach out. I have the tools, I have the programs, I have the coaching, I have the resources, a lot of free stuff like this. But you got to prepare for it because I guarantee you it's going to happen. Any journey worthwhile is not just a flat, straight road. Who wants that? What would be the fun in that? You want some zigzag, you want some hills. Because then you reach the mountain. You're going to look down and you go, damn, that was awesome. Look at the view and look at what I have and who I've become and what I can do. And then you can scale it. Says, help, 300,000 this year, 400,000 next year, 500,000, $1 million. It starts here in the mind. Remember? The engine, habits, fuel, 4 wheels, off you go. That's the journey, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. I enjoyed it very much. You have any questions? Do you want to get in touch? A couple of things I wanted to show you. We have the new Expired Plus out there. Just go to expiredplus.com. The 2015 edition is out if you want to check it out. Check out the Core Influence, really good program. I'm very proud of it. If you need help with communication, setting up appointments, handling objections, asking questions, that's the program. And this is my contact info. If there's anything you need to know, reach out. You need help. Email is borino@expiredplus.com, or you can call our office. I'll be happy to chat with you. I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope you will do the homework. Let me give you the homework. What I encourage you to do is when we finish in just a few minutes, spend a little time, maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour at the most. And here's what I'd like you to do. Really declare your super why. Get clear on what is it that you're really after. What really matters? What excites you? What just not pay off the bills. Please don't do that. That's a big mistake. That has not enough juice. It's part of it and it will come, but make it personal, make it about you, and make it irresistible. So that's one. Set up a super why. Then come up with that plan we talked about. Leads, lead to appointments, lead into listings. What do you have to do? Then come up with the systems. And now here's what I want you to do when it comes to your systems. Evaluate all 4 tires on that car. How is your communication? How is your presentation? How
Next
are your leads?
questioner.
Oops. How is your listing presentation? And evaluate on a scale 1 to 5. Is it performing perfectly? My lead systems are 5-star. Excellent. If not, just fix it, adjust it. How is your communication? 5-star. Excellent. Don't need to do anything. It's 3. I got to work on it. I got to practice. I got to get hold of better dialogues. All that. Evaluate. All 4. Okay? Communication, presentation, follow-up. How is your follow-up? Do you have a good contact management system? If not, just get one. No big deal. It's going to take you a weekend to set it up. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple. But evaluate all 4 tires. Okay? Simple plan, 4 tires. Check what works for you already. I mean, you've reached a certain point already in your business, otherwise you wouldn't be here today chatting with me. So what is it? What works? Do more of that. Build on your strength rather than just trying to fix the problems. Okay? So whatever works. Your mind, maybe you're very diligent, focused, inspired. Fantastic. Maybe your habits. If not, work on those. Organized. How organized are you? How is your planning ability? All this will require good planning. Plan your perfect day, plan your perfect week, perfect month. For those of you guys who are my listing university, please do watch Get Organized, Stay Organized. It's a great coaching that will so much help you get your day set up and organized so that you do the things that really matter, that will get you on that journey and get you to your goal much faster. And then just execute. What's on your calendar will get done. End of story. Follow up. You need to do 3 things. Contact management system in place, mail in place, phone means dialogues in place. That's the communication. That's your homework. Spend a few minutes doing this, and you would be surprised how quickly you can get results. Okay? My friends, thank you so much for being here today. I enjoyed sharing all this with you. If you have any questions, here's my email one more time. Click. There it is. It's borino@expertplus.com. Shoot me a quick email. Let me know. Give me a feedback. How did you like today? Today's session. Our next session will be in about a week. You will get an email about it pretty soon, and it will be an Expired Clinic. Any problems, issues, or questions you're running into when you're not getting enough expireds, we're going to handle those. We're going to role play if you need to. We're going to go over your marketing if we need to. We're going to go over your steps you're taking. All that will be taken care of. Email will be coming out. Invitation to join us. Thanks for being here today. Your Coach Borino signing off. Let's go get him. Have a wonderful rest of the day. I'll talk to you real soon. Bye, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following presentation is rated